Greetings, everybody.
Yep. Good night, everyone.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the conversation. We apologize for the late start, but a lot has been happening, a lot has been going on. We had to rush to get into to place to have
hmm
this particular show. So yeah, um, we ready up.
Yes, as usual, the disclaimers reads: the views, opinions, and statements expressed on the conversation are solely those of the individual hosts and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of our advertisers, Majestic Music Radio, Gem Radio, or Gem Network. The content of this show is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only, and should not be considered as professional advice. Listeners' discretion is advised. Neither the station nor the network assumes any responsibility or liability for the accuracy, completeness, or validity of the information presented. All content
Mhm.
is subject to change without prior notice. But as we just always say, Google it, of course.
Yeah, Google it. Well, Google
hmm
is about to kind of expire now because AI is replacing that. You know what I mean?
Chat GPT it.
Chat GPT in all the different forms replacing that. But let's get straight into the conversation. And
Yes.
we talking there are a couple of burning issues happening right now. But before
hmm
we get
hmm
into the whole what's on in social media right now about people losing their accounts and stuff, which we would have to get more information on in order to verify. Let's jump straight into what we plan to talk about, which was domestic violence and basically the crime against women.
Yes. Well, not even just women, is men too, because they all feeling it, eh? But
Yeah.
as you guys could see, the heading for tonight is unmasking the system, domestic abuse, sorry, and political responsibility. So, of
Mhm.
course, as somebody once asked me the other day, what happened, Martin? Like, yeah, I just talking beer politics. I talk, yeah, it was about copyright and music and thing. And I had to say, well, not necessarily. The purpose of this specific podcast and
It's to deal with
discussion,
issues.
correct, and not
Uh-huh.
just copyright, which that is
Yeah.
our main thing. So I guess we started off and everybody felt like, yeah, them man beat it with copyright. But that is not the only thing we wanted to deal with. We wanted to touch on everything and anything that is happening within our society. Because at the end, as data says, one Guyana, right? So we represent not just for the one Guyana, but for the actual people of Guyana. Make sense? All right.
Makes
So,
sense.
of course, there have been deaths, lots of deaths recently, right?
Yeah.
Lots of crime, right? As they
Mm-hmm.
just classify it as. When it comes to women against women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the system counts that as domestic. Now, the most burning thing that recently happened is the killing of the young lady who is, I believe she's an influencer, but most of all, she's a teacher and she's a mother, right?
Yeah.
And she was murdered by her child father.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they were how good that relationship was, what to call them partners, but she was murdered brutally by her child father, right? One of her child fathers. And that would have sparked attention and outrage in some sense across social media. Of course, Guyanese people like they're on Facebook and TikTok now. So across the
Mm-hmm.
platforms, we've seen outrage whereby people is dissatisfied, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But
We're dissatisfied with what?
so I guess the way things went down and the lack of support from the system itself, mainly the police force, right? But this is also keeping in mind that people don't readily understand the actual functions of the police force or of any police force. While the motto is to protect and serve, that could be so broad but so narrow at the same time, right? And I think that
Okay.
is where we actually have these issues, why people can't readily understand who's supposed to be doing what. You know, of course, we have several different women's group and rights group that would have established in and across Guyana that I'm still looking to see them say something. Be anybody else besides Simone de Brooms, I'm looking for for something, right? Because
Yeah.
in my opinion, Simone de Brooms have always been in the forefront of these things. And I think she would have built her platform on that also. But I am
Okay.
yet to see different women rights group or different movements to come up
Say
in,
anything. Well,
yeah.
let me ask the question, because this is the burning question for me. When you mentioned the police force, I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking, okay, what part did the police force not play in the murder of this young lady? Because they couldn't possibly anticipate that the young man was going to shoot her. So that I don't understand. And what other provisions could they have put in place to stop something like that from happening, outside of us having counselors available when this young lady had made the report first and had a restraining order on this guy? Outside of that, what
Mm-hmm.
else could have been done?
So if I'm to go back a bit from
Hmm.
the stories that I would have heard based on different videos circulating,
Hmm.
this haven't is not a new case. It's not a new
Right.
thing that started happening the other day and
When you say a
exploded.
new thing between the two of them.
Correct. It was something that multiple reports was made,
Hmm.
right? According to the family members,
Right.
multiple reports was made, which means it's an extended period. And again, I personally don't know the length of that relationship that they had, right? Because
But if you
obviously
look
they
at
had to
it,
had 9 months span for that baby to already born and be 3 months.
well, the thing is, it doesn't appear that they were in that relationship that long, because a
Mhm.
restraining order was on the guy,
Correct. So
and
what
that
what
restraining order had to be there when the baby was still in her belly.
correct.
So it kind of it appears though that they kicked off a relationship rather quickly. Although I look at the age dynamic, I don't know if people have paid attention to the age dynamic. She's 26, he is 21. She already had two children
Hmm.
before, apparently. So I don't know how people look at situations, but um, he is basically a young guy with basically no experience. His
Correct.
experience, I think, came from that woman.
Mm.
So although everybody is like, oh, he did the wrong thing, I think people need to stop and really look at what could have triggered a situation like that. Because, like I mentioned on my radio program this morning, um, people do not know the backstories of a lot of these things. All right. And men get a lot of blame when, for example, women have these affairs, whether they're married or not. Um, a lot of the men are not willing to come out and say, listen, this girl give me AIDS,
Hmm.
so it kills you. Those are some of the things that men need to talk about. You understand? Because those things are affecting people in Guyana for real.
Yeah.
All right. So when people look at a situation and they just come up with their own assumptions, this is why I said that, the police should have, when the girl instituted the restraining order on the guy, they should have brought the guy in to find out what was the circumstances, why this restraining order is put on him, and they would have kind of gotten a bit more
More
information,
clarity.
a bit more clarity, and they could have also done an intervention by bringing a counselor on board if there was a situation where it was troubling him.
Hmm.
But based on reports, he said he told the police. The police said that he told them that he was trying to contact her and she would not answer her phone.
Mm.
All right.
So for me,
Mhm.
this is where the responsibility of the system comes in, right?
Mhm.
Because readily there's not several programs that we could run to and say, well, as men, if you have issues, There's a peer group over here. There's a peer group over here. You can't run to go to the police force and say, well, hey, I need to talk to somebody. You can't run to a lawyer friend or whatever, a teacher
Mm-hmm.
friend. We don't have these groups existing. I could say from when I moved to America, I had a family member who was going through a lot of a young man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember his mom calling the police one time,
Mm-hmm.
and the police ain't coming in no hassle manner. They come in and see, well, hey, how much time do I have to continue talking to you? Which tells me this is an ongoing relationship that already started, I guess, based on the first time the police officer responded, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we know the police force itself do have community outreaches where they, from what I've seen at least, they go out into communities, they go out into schools at every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
It is a picture moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you want to promote that. But anything of substance that the officers just do, I personally can't say on it. I guess somebody from the Guyana police force would be able to speak on that, right?
Well, based on what we see overall in Guyana, one, it takes money to invest in all these things we're talking about. That's one.
Correct.
The government is attempting to move not only infrastructure, but again, in this run up to the elections, we've heard from several parties that they're going to have what is called a people-centered policy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, we suggested on radio this morning that they should look at that issue. And just like what they do in America, something happens and they create laws and provisions to deal with something like that occurring again.
Correct.
Now, in this case, this has happened on numerous occasions. And one of the things that we did point out was that none of these female organizations, we haven't heard their voices. Where is Red Thread? Where is all these other female organizations that are supposed to be out there? We're not hearing from them. And
this
they are
is why
not
I said
putting
anybody
forward,
else except Simona Rooms I want to hear from at this point.
right. And we're not hearing them put forward what I would call, real facts to help to change the dynamic, or solutions, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
We're not hearing anything that says, here's a solution that we think will work. All we're hearing is, oh, this is like a blame game. Oh, you should have put that in place. Oh, you should have done that. Oh, you should have done that. But what about suggesting stuff? Because we know at no point in Guyana's history we had those things. So those things will be relatively new to our environment. So
Yes.
in a changing dynamic and a changing environment, we would need to have a lot of things introduced. And it goes all the way back to what we talk about, which is our mantra, which is the whole idea of copyright laws and the enforcement. It has never been a staple in Guyana to the point where even the Guyanese artists understand it. So this is why it has taken an eternity, basically, for them to get it together. And they have not been able to get it together yet. So in this case, especially with the domestic violence cases, I do believe that the government needs to look at how they're putting mechanisms in place in the upcoming term to mitigate a lot of this stuff. For example, I saw a video today. A guy was pulling a woman by her hair. Now we're talking about literally feet away from the East La Penitence police station on Mandela Avenue. And I'm thinking in my head, we have surveillance cameras, etc., but nobody was able to get out there and help this young lady. She could have been stabbed as well. Indeed. She could have been killed out there as well. All right. But what we need to do as Guyanese is to inform, and we're supposed to have active numbers. For example, the person who filmed that woman being assaulted on Mandela Avenue could have picked up her phone and dialed 911 or called the East La Penitence police station and said, could you just look outside on Mandela Avenue? There's an assault happening in front of the police station. All right. Those are things that, the police can be more proactive with that if they get the calls. It's like what happens in the US, where people basically the environment is programmed, everybody in that environment is programmed to, if you see something, say something.
Say something. Indeed.
Exactly. So these are some of the policies we're talking about when we say, okay, they need to understand what needs to be done to mitigate a lot of these problems that we seem to find ourselves in these days. And one of the things I want to point out too is why all of a sudden it seems to be like an epidemic happening right now. Like it broke out. It's just men against women, women against men. What is happening? And it all goes back to, you know, the lack of I hate to say this, but integrity of morals.
I
There is
agree.
no
I agree.
passing down of morals to the young men. There's no passing down of morals to the women. So the women have the idea that the more guys I can get and get more money from them, the better for me.
Hmm.
And the guys just look at it, well, hey, it's one move. And that is what
So
is creating a lot of problems.
correct. As you rightfully said it, that is what is creating a lot of the issues, right? But even more so, I would want to go all the way back into the household of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereby,
Yeah.
as far as I know, within the last 10, 15 years, I think
Mm-hmm.
20 years would be pushing it too much, but probably even we've
Mm-hmm.
seen a major shift out of one culture but into another, whereby back in the days in the early 90s, late 90s even, they had a household, they had a mother, father, and children,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even growing up in school, I remember reading, I think, is the Rampart Family. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Them stories is not being told today. The stories that is being told today is, I is a strong woman, I independent, I could raise me children without a man.
Yeah.
Whereby now the men hustling to sacrifice, and in some cases sacrificing a little bit too much and a little bit too little at the same time, finding themselves in prison or dead altogether. Right? So now we have a household with no father figure around, not even an older brother, unfortunately, in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of households, but it's just women. And as we come down to the last 10 years, the last 5 years, we're kind of seeing a shift in that, right? But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, the shift that we're seeing is a whole different culture, whereby the men that was left is, we're seeing a whole different community, as they call it, the alphabet community.
Well, I mean, they got alphas and they got betas. You know what I mean? So what we find is, especially men who grow up in a home with no father, with just their mom, they kind of run on just emotions. They
Correct.
operate from the female perspective. They're not operating from a masculine testosterone perspective, logical thinking, because
Mm.
men operate from a position of logic. All right, what makes sense? Females operate from the standpoint of emotions or intuition. All
Yes.
right, and if men are grown by women, they will operate based on the tendencies that they have inculcated from their mother, not their father. So they will operate more on the female side. And
Mm.
a lot of men do not even realize this about themselves. They believe because they're men and they're macho and they may have a beard and all that, they're real men. But unfortunately, we know emotionally they're not.
It's a very different
It's a
story.
different thing.
Yeah.
Emotionally, they're not real men. They are operating on emotions.
So while we're on that point, I would like to bring on a young lady, right, who have a lot to say, according to her, based on the topic, of course.
Okay. Good evening.
Greetings, Nelly.
Hello.
We're gonna keep
Good
it.
evening, good evening, good evening, good
Good
evening.
evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. So Martin said that you're joining the conversation. You seem to have a lot to input. So what's your take on this particular topic of the increasing violence against women, whether domestically or otherwise?
Well, one of the things I that really got me today is the fact that most of these young women are reaching out for help, because this morning I wake up and the first thing I saw is a young lady posting a picture on Facebook with her eyes being black and blue and explaining that she's been in a domestic violence relationship for so long, and she's reaching out to the public for help.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the things that when you go into the comments and you read the comments, it's like some of the things that people are saying to these young ladies even after they're reaching out to help is ridiculous. Because okay, she said the previous day before, yesterday, she posted a video of the guy and she said, I'm posting this because of so, and the police, she claimed that the police locked her up. Allegedly, the police locked her up and put her on bail because she posts this individual. Now, if she's posting this individual and she's saying that this is what happened, and if something happens to me in the future, this is who you're supposed to look into. And she said, oh, they not taking a report. They keep saying that there's already a story in court. What else do you want young people to do? If when we're reaching out to, if when the young ladies are reaching out to help, the justice system that are there that's supposed to help them isn't helping them, what
Mm-hmm.
more you want them to do? It's like you're basically building fear into them, because we can't come out, if we come out for help, we're not getting help. So the best thing to do is to stay where we are in this abusive relationship. Because
My
then if you
question,
try to leave, I am
my
going to be afraid that he's going to want to kill me.
all right, my question to her, because I did see that same story you're talking about. My question to her would be, since she put that post up on Facebook, did any of the women's organizations, Red Thread, any of these organizations, did they reach out to her, or did she reach out to them? Because I mean, their numbers are readily available. Did anything like that happen?
I know the young woman personally, to say, and according to her, no one has reached out to her for help as yet.
No one has reached out. But did
No.
she? Okay, did she seek help by reaching out to these women's organizations? For example, Red Thread. There's several of them. And she could have even reached out to the Honorable Simona Brooms. Yes. Did she do anything like that?
I guess not. I guess her way of reaching out for help was posting this story on Facebook. Like I said, everybody do everything on social media nowadays. So
But you cannot. Okay, my issue with that would be the credibility of what happens on social media always will be in question because of AI and all the other things that are happening on social media. All right.
she
So
telling me
for the
somebody is
police,
gonna fake a black eye.
people do anything in this time. People do anything. For the
Okay.
police to take um, just what she's saying at face value without real tangible evidence. For example, if there is an ongoing court case between that young lady and whoever she is with, all right, when she got the black eye, did she go to get a police report from the police station? Did she collect the sheet and then go to the hospital?
She said she took in a medical. They didn't want to accept her medical.
Who didn't want to accept the medical?
The police didn't want to accept medical.
At which police station did she take this medical and it was not accepted?
Someplace on the west side.
On the west side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should tag this young lady, maybe give her a call, see if she can get on the program now, and let's find out if which police station she went to on the west side. And obviously, when she got to that station, and this is something I always suggest to to persons, find out the names of the officers that you've given a report to and their badge numbers, so that you have credible evidence that I have delivered information to this particular police officer. All
So
right?
for me, individuals must also understand the mandate of a police officer. They are not
Correct.
social workers,
No, they're not.
right? So while you could go to the police station, which is the closest point for you, I would believe they readily can't do nothing if it's not an actual case that they could take over, right? Because how could the police now come and do any investigation based on allegations, right? While if I'm right, I'm not a police officer. Somebody who's in the law enforcement aspect could tell me if I'm right. But you come to the police station, you give a report, they collect the report from you,
Correct.
probably take a couple days to do investigation and verify what you're saying is correct. I believe that is the process. Now, if you're in a domestic violence situation, if you're being abused as a young lady or a young man, and
That's an
it's
immediate
physically
circumstance.
showing, right?
Yeah.
Now your story now becomes different because it's now a violent situation, right?
Correct.
But if you're in a situation to this extent that you can run out and go to any one of the ministries, especially Ministry of Social Protection, I think that is the name, right? I've been out again for a while.
There is the Ministry of Social Protection.
Then something is wrong, because I understand the fact that she's going online, posting her story online so that people could hear it or people could see it. But then again, did you not to come down on the young lady or any young lady, but to inform them?
No, we're not.
Did you ring down the ministry phone? You understand?
And
did you catch a bus or a car and go to the ministry office? Because at that point, it is mandatory for them to assist you.
Well, this is what I asked in the initial. If when this is happening to the young lady, one, she said she went to the police station. All right. If she went to the police station, all she needed to request was the paper so she can take
transcript
to the hospital for the examination, the medical examination. All right. Now, once she gets that medical examination, she takes that back to the police. All right. That is evidence verifying her injuries. All right. Then the police are not going to allow her to go home alone, seeing that she has been abused. They're going to accompany her to the house or to the property wherever she was abused by whoever. And they're going to take it from there. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is in all of this, because I did see the thing on social media, and I do understand the police force optimism, because again, we've seen makeup artists do some wonders online that make people look like they have been murdered. All right, people have been chopped up, but nothing of the sort has happened. It's just makeup. And now we have the introduction of AI, which is causing mass pandemonium, in my estimation, to people's logical thinking. All right, because AI can come up with any bit of thing that you program it or you tell it that you want to have. All right. No, I am not beating up on any female who has been abused legitimately, but I do wish that they go through the process of getting the mechanism to stop this, and they must be able to stop it early. One of the things I did point out in the beginning. Go ahead.
I might sound biased saying this, but I always say in this life we have choices. And as females, we see things before it happened, because sometimes these guys started off with just threatening you. Yo, I can hit you, start talking to you in an aggressive manner, start pushing you. It's like you see these things happening before it happens. Because nobody ain't gonna wake up one morning and decide to slap you. Or nobody ain't gonna wake up one morning and decide that I can just get out of my bed and just take out my anger on you. There are steps to this.
Yeah, there are stages to it.
Yeah, there are steps to this. So as a woman, now that from the minute you see this, for me, when I tell myself, you could call me what you want, but from the minute I'm in a relationship and you lift your voice on me a little too hard, that I feel scared, that I'm shivering,
Mhm.
I am going to at least, if you do it more than once, I'm gonna step out. Nobody just don't wake up in the morning and decide that I am going
But,
to beat a woman.
but,
There are
but, but,
steps, there are
but
threats, there are actions, there are different ways and people attitude that they
that's
could do these
true.
things.
But what you have to also take into consideration here, Derry, is that there are females who are in unique circumstances outside of yours. For example, there are females who are in a very tight financial position. All right, and they may find themselves in a rock and a hard place because the guy is the one who's providing for them. All right, he's providing for them. They may have a child or two that is not his, and he's providing for everybody. So they will tolerate stuff that they should not, usually, because they want, they want a better life. They want to be able to be taken care of. They want their children also to be taken care of. I'm not saying this is correct again, but what I'm talking about here is circumstances. All right. And we know for a fact that not everybody is in peak circumstance where if something happens and they get irritated, they can walk away tomorrow or they can walk away immediately and they're good. All right. So,
Okay, yeah, let's say that, right? But what happens when he first put his hands on you? You're gonna stick around for him to beat you more?
oh, no,
The
no,
first slap is
no,
your sign to go.
no,
The
I
first
understand.
hit is your sign to go. No
You
matter
see,
what situation you're in.
no, I understand that. But what I'm saying, you are somebody, as well as other females, who understand and they're in a position to do that. All right. Some women are not in that position, especially women who have been seriously abused. Okay. And I can tell you this because I've seen it for myself. I have literally seen women in a position where they could not take themselves out of a situation because of finances. All right. And they have children with them. All right. I'm not condoning any of these things that happen. What I'm doing here is highlighting where the problems are and maybe what we can do to alleviate some of these issues. And like I said earlier, when, for example, in the Linden situation where the girl is 26 years old and the guy is 21, I'm hoping that the police really go behind the scenes. And when I say behind the scenes, look at how long this relationship was going on. When did it start? All right. When did this relationship start? When the
If you
restraining hold on, when the restraining order was put on the 21-year-old. Okay. Now, when that restraining order was put on him, what I'm thinking is and this is a suggestion, a forward-thinking suggestion that will help the Guyana police force. All right. What they needed to do at that point when she made the complaint and then got the restraining order through the court. All right, this is a different scenario. The court is now involved in that, not only the police force but the court. All right, now what I'm saying there is that moving forward from this tragedy that has happened is that we need to have something implemented through the police force and the court, which is a mediation area, where once women have restraining orders on men, those men are asked to come in, as well as the woman, and we provide counseling for both sides to understand what is causing the problem. Because if you don't have a solution and they walk out of there and the man feels that he is being violated, he has spent all his money, his time, his efforts to ensure that this woman is well. And this is what happens. You cannot, you do not know how people are going to react. You cannot judge people's reaction in those cases. Like Martin and I were talking on radio, and I brought up an interesting scenario where a policeman, and this is a real thing in Guyana, a policeman was on the road conducting, they usually have the roadblock on the road and stuff like that, right? And he pulls over a vehicle only to find his wife in the vehicle giving the driver fellatio. Now, he's a police officer, he's armed at that time. If he didn't exercise, and I'm saying he got mad patience, he got mad constitution inside. I respect him for that. To be able to look at what happened, operate as though he didn't even know that that was his wife, looked at the gentleman's documents, they approved that, okay, all is well, handed the documents back to the gentleman and said, proceed. All right. Now, in a lot of these cases where we have this murder happen, because I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if you remember the case where a policewoman, and this is another case with a police involved, right? A policewoman had her husband who was working in the interior. She had her sweet man who was staying downstairs of the husband's house with her mom, who they claim, both mother and daughter claimed that this was a cousin. But when the gentleman or her husband went back to the interior, he was seen by the neighbors going upstairs and spending whole night till morning. And they told the husband, who later came in, who sneaked back in and found them in bed together. He didn't do the guy anything, but he chopped up his wife, and later on he hung himself. Now, there was an outrage, there was an outcry. Everybody said, how could he do that? He's an evil man, etc., etc. Until further investigation proved that one, the sweet man was downstairs, and second, that when she went to the US, when they checked her phone, she was also having an affair with a gentleman in the US and telling him he's the one. So the main thing for me here is morals and integrity. How are we teaching our youth the morals and integrity? Because obviously in that situation, the mother of that police lady didn't have any morals. She had none whatsoever. She was willing to go along with the plot, with the sweet man downstairs sleeping down there, pretending to be a family member and going upstairs and having sex with her daughter, knowing that her daughter had her husband in the interior. And that to me was utter ridiculous. That was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. So
how do people look at these cases? Go ahead, Martin.
I was going to say we did start off with the household aspect of things and the lack of fathers, lack of men in the household, and women being charged to raise children, right?
Correct.
Whether it be male or female. And why I come back to that is for you to have, or for you to be able to instill morals and integrity, you kind of need it from both parts.
You need it from both parts, yeah.
Right? Because while I do love my mother dearly and would do anything for my mother, I look at she as a regular woman based on how much kids she have. Right? Mm-hmm. I am the third child of 5 children. Each of us have different fathers. And me as a young man, look at that from a very early age and say, yo, my mother was in the streets, even though, well, there's the term which is used in these days, right? But she was out there. And we have to be honest with ourselves about these things. This young lady that passed away, I can't verify if it was 3 different fathers she had.
But we know all of them are not the same. We know all of them are not the same dad, because the older ones are not the father is not the 21-year-old. If that's so, that means she had to have a relationship with this guy when he was in his teens, and that would have been pedophilia at that time.
If you guys looked at Simona Broom's interview that she did with the young lady family, you guys would understand that all 3 of kids does not have the same father.
Well, that is exactly what I'm saying.
That's
so
what
that right there is the problem. Now, I did saw the father in that video with Simona Brooms, because the father did said after he killed the daughter, he came to the yard and was looking for him. Now, in which part of your right brain matter space could you, as a 21-year-old young man, come looking for me as a big man? You would not be existing.
So if you guys sit down and take the time to study this case the way I did, you will understand that mental health has a very big part to play
Yeah,
in this whole scenario.
but Nell, just before we get to the mental health part of it, right? And I keep insisting this, and I do hope that the Guyana Police Force is listening, and they can pick up and do some real investigation, right? Could somebody please explain to me why a graduate with so much intelligence, 26 years old, would be with a 21-year-old guy? Is
Because she because one, he's 21, she's 26. Two, I want some I don't know if this is how she was thinking, but she get to play the well, I
The
need to
mother.
find a
the
word to put.
dominatrix?
Yes,
The
she
dominatrix?
gets to be the one that's in control. He's younger than her. She,
So
basically
hold
he's
on.
younger than her.
So you have just confirmed the women's thinking here, which says manipulation.
Okay, not all women, but I would say some women like
Uh,
to feel in control.
that is how it seems. Because if she's 26 years old, she's obviously way more intelligent than he is.
Good, and
All
she's a
right.
graduate, she's a teacher, and
Exactly. It's a
so
question of
she was the more.
manipulation.
And then if you listen to this, he didn't have this motherly. If you because his mother said when in the interview with Simone Brooms, his mother they said that his mother told them that, oh, this woman gonna make my son kill himself, which clearly shows you that he didn't have that
Manipulation.
much of a mother
Again,
love.
So
it points to manipulation.
it points to a lot more than manipulation. It points to all the values and integrity that you mentioned,
Exactly. It's
Malachi,
true
in
north.
both families have decayed.
Of
Because
course.
if you as a mother could see this off rip and can guide your son, this is again where mothers can't really raise by children, right? It might sound bad to
By
some, but this is the
themselves.
truth.
So maybe now he's in this relationship with her. He sees her as this motherly figure, let's say that. And all of a sudden she just decided, okay, I don't want you anymore. That's gonna mess with somebody' mental health, and that is where it comes to play. You just
You,
decided you don't want me anymore after done having a child with me or pregnant for me. You
yeah.
decided you don't want me anymore when I have been depending on you, or I have been subdued to you all the entire years of my life.
Well,
What do you want me to do?
it doesn't appear that he was, um, let's say, he was in a position of subjugation to her, but he was definitely bringing something to the table, which, in my estimation, most men try their best to bring money to the table. Because I don't think she was the one providing the money for both of them. Do you?
No, she wasn't the one provided, and that's where it comes in. I give you my money. I do whatever you ask me to do. I basically sing to you. Now it's going to mess with me that all of a sudden you just want to leave. Now
So
there's incidents where they
Okay.
say this guy threw gasoline on himself, saying that he gonna kill himself for her to
Mm-hmm.
take him back. There was a time he hit his head with whatever he hit his head with. Now nobody in their righted he doesn't neglect, he feels neglect. Now my mom neglect me, you're gonna neglect me. What neglect? Now that makes
he's
people
lost everything at
angry.
this point. So
Yeah, no, you
this is
making me feel
where
like I lose everything. These things make people angry,
so
and
But you,
sometimes we cause these things on ourselves.
but check this out. If you notice, my angle on this has never been one to criticize the young lady in any way, or to come down heavily on a 21-year-old guy,
mhm,
because I know that I was 21 years old and I knew what my feelings were as a man at 21 years old. When I
correct.
looked at the age disparity between the woman that he was with, because she is a woman, she is 26 years old. He has just left puberty
Hmm.
and become a young man.
He's
Because
still, listen, he's still not even developed maturely in the
no,
mind.
because
He is
women
not.
develop faster than men. This is one of the things that we have to understand. Women develop faster than men in terms of intellect and all of that. They learn faster than men. And this is a reality we have to live with. It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Scientifically, this is proven. All right. So this happens. Now she's 26 years old. She's a graduate. Obviously, she has way more intellect than he has. All right. Now, if all these things you're saying in the run up to this, him throwing gasoline on himself, him feeling neglected, where was anybody to counsel him in his time of need before he
Do
did
we
this
have
heinous
do we
thing?
have that system in place?
No,
We
because if
we
he went,
don't.
we know as a fact, if he went to the police station, is a laugh would have happened.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have that system in place whereby, and then another thing that I keep telling people is that one, we justice system is make clung after men. So imagine me going reaching out to people as a male, a 21-year-old, asking for help. Like, yo, I'm going through this and I need counseling
They
as
gonna
a
laugh.
man.
Police gonna laugh. They can say, "Oh well, listen, you got to control your woman by." But one of the things, though, Nell, just hear me out for a second. One of the things I've been insisting that our not only politicians but the people who are in charge of setting up the guidance system for parenting and all these other organizations, right? We need to look at what is called acculturation, and that acculturation for Guyanese has come in their music. All right, because I pointed this out on radio. One of the biggest songs in Guyana's folklore music and folk music is Sanko lick the lover pon the dam and the gala hala murder. You know what that is? Sanko beating the girl on the dam to have intercourse with her and she hollering murder. Another song I will point out to you is where Lord Canary is singing a song about a girl who he wants, and he tries to trick her to go into his bedroom. He tells she go in the bedroom and look for a pack of cigarette for me. But the girl say, I don't smoke. If you want the cigarette, go and get it yourself. And what did he say? He gives she a knock, a lick, and a butt. And the two of them tumble down on the floor. And as soon as that happens, he hear a knock on the door. And he didn't even know the police officer was already there. And the girl said, you think I stupid, right? But this Russian here going back to the country with me. Now, those are subliminal ideas programmed into the society. We also have Mighty Sparrow singing, but beat them till they love you. You
We've
guys,
seen
I
that
mean,
today.
yeah, our people have to understand that after slavery and after all these things that have happened to our people, we are still to carve out a way. Because remember, Guyana is running on 1954 laws
Hmm.
since colonialism. All right. So we have to understand what these subliminal messages in our music is doing. And also now, even worse, now, where we have the Jamaican influence, where they all they're talking about hit that one and move. So what kind of how are you nurturing a society with one and move kind of thinking, where it's all about having a one night stand and go?
Hmm.
Let's get real. We need to address these issues. The Broadcast Commission also has to take part of the responsibility, because it's what you allow on the airwaves that's influencing the society. And that's a very serious thing.
Yeah, permission to speak. Facts, man.
Blessings, bro. Good night. Good night.
Greetings.
Good
Greetings.
night to everybody.
Yeah,
Facts,
man.
man. Facts, you guys are speaking. However, there's some biases. In other words, I'm here to say that domestic violence is not only occurring within Guyana, it's
Mm-hmm.
occurring worldwide. Um,
True.
yes, we should say that the entertainer should take some of the responsibility, but we all are listening to these music, and not everyone is beating and ill treating their spouse.
True. This is
In the
because of their
comments,
upbringing.
I was mentioning about emotional intelligence,
Correct.
and if you notice, Guyana is taking the detour to the left side when it comes to mental health. In
Mm.
other words, like you guys were speaking, a large amount of male is being raised by female who don't know how to be male.
They
So
can't.
that is what contributing
It's one of the problem.
Yeah.
to this.
Mm-hmm.
We have several factors that is contributing to domestic violence within the home. Um, for example, a female also, I ain't coming for them, can be verbally abusive. We all know growing up saying a woman power is your mouth. She can say some things to piss a man off. He doesn't have the emotional intelligence to control his anger, and he lash out because
Mm-hmm.
he knows better. This is the best way he could get through. Like some parents, everybody believe beating a child is the right way. The child do something wrong, you want to scold the child and grow them the right way, big good method, lashes. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, in a relationship, as the male is the superior one within the relationship, he feel it's right to do the same thing. So you guys are on the right path. That society has a great part to play, and is just a scratch in the surface
Of
we're
course, of
speaking
course.
on. But
I'm not cutting you, my brother, but you know there's an old African saying that it says it takes what to raise a child? A
it
village.
takes a
Takes a village.
community to raise a
It takes
child.
a village
I,
to raise a child.
I
And that's
believe
what we
in
need to
that
go back.
also.
We need to go back to the origin.
So, of course, a lot of people like to say we make everything political, especially in Guyana, right? And this is exactly why I had to make sure we had the political responsibility, right? Whereby politicians, government officials need to understand that running a country is not just how much money we could get, how the GDP is being raised, and everything
How we
else
could
in
look,
between,
how
right?
we look,
Yeah, but I would
all about
say
that.
that standing over the fence, the government is being putting great work into dealing with this situation when it comes to domestic violence of women. And earlier on the call, I hear the female say that someone make a report and the police didn't do anything about it. Your police
Mm.
complaint
Mm-hmm.
authority, there's steps that she could have taken. And let me tell you, police take domestic violence in Guyana pretty
Yeah, very
serious.
serious.
And
Yeah, yeah, I
why
know
I
that for
could
a fact.
say that the government is place some paying a placing a lot of emphasis or emphasizing within this domestic violence, and they're even doing education within school, conflict resolution. They have peer
Mm-hmm.
counseling. They has things going on within school mentorship groups. So it is happening, and this society today, domestic violence is not to the great percentage as it was when we growing up. Because growing up in our village, every other house somebody beating their wife. Now you don't find these
Of course.
things. It says decrease a great lot by
Mm-hmm.
doing these small groups and the council and the police on it. So to say that the government is not doing, there is doing, but
No, no,
you
no. We're
cannot
not saying that we're
completely
not saying
eliminate something
no.
right away.
We're not saying that they have not done anything. What we're suggesting is right at that point where the intersection between, for example, where that young lady in Linden had the restraining order on the young man. Right at that point, at that
That was the
intersection
perfect
where
time to
there is the
interject.
police and the court involvement, they should have brought both sides in. That's our suggestion. That's our way of looking at solving a lot of these problems. They should have brought both sides in, and here comes the counselor in that situation to figure out how do we look at a way forward without us destroying each other. Because in this case, the mother is dead. A 3-month-old is left without mother and now father.
And father.
All right. So this is what I'm talking about. We need to be more proactive. I'm not saying the government is not doing anything, but what I'm saying, we need to operate like the first world countries. Something happens, you look at that and you evaluate it from a 360-degree angle, which is in a circle.
You make adjustments.
And you make adjustments to what provisions you already have to ensure that this particular thing doesn't happen again. That's what we say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And for the time that domestic violence has been happening in Guyana, I'm not blaming the government. These are all personal things. But what I'm saying, they have the ability to tighten the framework on these things to ensure that you cut down the percentage. Because if I go to statistics presently, I can show you that the UNDP has done research on Guyana and the Caribbean, and Guyana is ranked number 1 in domestic violence. We're talking about 8.8% of women in Guyana out of 100,000 have been in a domestic violence situation. And that is going to damage our future generation, regardless of how people want to say, oh, no, that is not going to affect, that's too small. No, it's not. If you have 8 to 9 women going through that, you're talking about mental damage. You're talking about Stockholm syndrome. And a lot of Guyanese do not read sufficiently enough to understand what these things are. Stockholm syndrome is when somebody has abused you so much that you decide that after a while your mind changes to where you believe your abuser is your savior. And that is what is happening in our country with the women. Straight up. And we need to bring that under control.
Yeah, I agree with you 100. Like you mentioned, we come a long way with this domestic violence thing, and it's been improving. But with every system, there's a loophole. And I hope that one of them is listening to this and tighten the loophole. And that was a loophole because it didn't have a proper counseling procedure in for both parties, and that's greatly highlighted by you guys. Yep. So I think
thank you,
that they should get that on board.
Well, I would like to even say, because you did mention the police force and so on is doing works in the school. So this is where we need to adapt more. While they are actively doing stuff in the school, we don't see it. Majority of the people don't see it, right? So yes, you might be dealing with it from the school level, but really and truly is the mother and the father, the mother and the man and the woman or whoever, the adults is having these major issues. Adults. And the younger ones is learning something different, but also witnessing a whole different situation. Right?
Correct.
So we have social media. Just like the ministers like to go and post pictures, new schools opening, new building established. And this goes from the president right down, even the opposition, because government for me is both parties, not just the PPP the ruling party.
Well,
like we make that clear.
We know that the government is made up of both opposition and government and the ruling party.
But you know, some people bring one-sided, so I like to make sure we establish that government is both sides of the aisle.
It's both sides, and so they'll be sitting there doing nothing.
Everybody running right now for government, for president, for a seat, for power. And I don't have the quotes correctly, but a lot of these parties currently is running with the rhetoric of we're being people-centered. And people oriented and for the people and whatever else about the people. But I ask for policies. I ask for manifesto. What is your promise? Me want to hear me gonna get 100,000 when the year done, or a raise in salary, or the food gonna go down, because none of that is of value to me if I halfway dead. And this is what is happening from the household, from the school system. Just like how we want to go post pictures online, we should video the entire session that they're conducting at the schools and post that online. Because you're only reaching 50 people in a classroom, if so much. Or how much ever 1,000.
We have
You're
like
gonna reach majority online.
Yeah,
what?
not cutting you guys.
Go
So
ahead.
Go ahead.
for the school session, it has individual counseling session.
Mm-hmm.
That confidentiality is highly part of that. You can't broadcast that this is going on in
Yeah,
XYZ.
true.
No,
And
agreed.
if the religious organization within the country, whether it be from Christianity to Hinduism or Hinduism to Christianity, Islam, has a
Mm-hmm.
major part to play when it comes to relationship counseling and domestic violence counseling also within this society.
Indeed. I
Yeah.
mentioned that this morning.
And some of these things might be posting, but remember these AIs or social media apps create an algorithm.
Yeah.
So they might post the same, but you mightn't see because I see someone post they donate things to this family, help this family, and what's not. But because of the algorithm that AI created for your social media,
Mm-hmm.
you might not be seeing these things be posted. But
But
from
also,
somebody who's be
also,
around,
my I'm not
um,
cutting you. Also, my bro, what we have to also be cognizant of, because this is something that we also spoke about on our radio program. You have, for example, individuals, and I'll just take one example, okay? You have an individual who was the ex-head of the GTU, the Guyana's Teachers Union, Mr. King, who has been sentenced by a jury of his peers, 12 to years in prison for raping a 6-year-old. All right. Now, these are some of the things that amaze me, where that would happen and you don't have an outcry from the women's organizations.
The
The
teachers.
media is not carrying that story, if you notice, because there's only one place we saw that story is in the Guyana Chronicle. So we have a breakdown, as Martin and I have stated. There is a breakdown in morals and integrity. Because individuals who are in the media who are supposed to be highlighting these issues are not. And it's shameful. Since when does a pedophile have a pass in the media? These are just some of the things that are
Since
affecting
it's somebody in a high seat.
who in high seat is stopping it. Because I mean, there is nobody who controls the media in Guyana. I don't think anybody controls Gordon Mosley, Big Smith, and all the other people who are involved in media. They're not controlled. There are independent media outlets. But
Well,
why aren't they covering those stories?
that would come back to the morals and integrity because
Exactly.
while some would consider everybody with a camera and right to post, a journalist, based on the bit of training that I had in my journalism class, it's a lot more than that. And the main thing that you need to have as a journalist is your morals and integrity.
Must.
That is what keeps you alive
That's what keeps
and
you grounded.
credible.
Yeah. Credible. This is a big part of the thing, Martin, that we need to outline that, hey, come on, guys. Let's focus here. Let's deal with the real issues. It's not about politics at this point. This is about people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
This is about our country. This is about our women. This is about our children, our future generation. Why are people not high? Why isn't the media highlighting these stories? And why aren't these women organizations coming out to say anything? This is my big problem with what's happening right now. Because you have all these cases popping up. You have several women being abused. And like I mentioned earlier, I saw a video earlier today, this afternoon, that shows a woman being assaulted mere meters away from the East La Penitence police station. A man is pulling this woman by her locks. But the person
So
filming it with their phone did not call the police. All they're cursing and saying, oh, this fat F, da 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 da. But what happened to calling the police?
good
it
question
is
also, and statement. Sorry to cut in you, Nelly.
Yeah.
How many times have you guys heard of female and male spouses meeting to police station, and then the female turning and says she don't want any story anymore?
Numerous
I don't
times.
want y'all lucky. I'm just talk to you from here. I know them
Yeah,
Numerous
things.
times.
so like I said, it's become a norm and also it's become a bias. So people is not paying attention to it most. Like, yo, we gonna report this. She gonna 911, no problem. I gonna look stupid to the end of the
That's the
day.
Stockholm syndrome right there, bro. That's the Stockholm syndrome right there.
Correct is
That's
right.
what I'm talking about.
So let me
And
write on the back of what Nelly just said. I
look how
don't want y'all lock
society,
you up. Just
look how so-
talk to you for me.
yeah, look how
This is where we
society.
need, sorry, Adolphus, this is where we need the system to function effectively. Just a
Because
little
no
bit
matter
more.
what she says, you can't shut it down. It's already happened.
Facts. But look
Just
how
a
Yeah.
little bit more
society
needs to function.
embed Stockholm syndromes into us. Simple movies as kids watching Beauty and the Beast. The Beast capture the princess, trap her in the
Yes.
castle, what's not. Eventually she
Yep.
falls for him. And from a child watching that, believe that that's
That's
right. We
coercion.
planting,
That's coercion.
implanting things into their mind. So
Yep.
yes, we have a great way to go to improve the society, but I'm glad you guys are highlighting some of these things.
And one of the
And
things that, yeah, why y'all keep cutting me?
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
my
Nelly.
dear. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Sorry, ma'am.
Going back to Malachi talking about people just videoing.
Mhm.
This thing where everybody pulling out their phone and videoing, it is sickening to this point where there was an incident that happened a couple nights back in a club with a young lady
Yes.
where she
We were
was
getting there.
assaulted, where she
She
was
was raped.
raped, she was raped. She was, you could
Yeah.
clearly see that she was not sober. And women, men,
Not even
everybody was there
over. It was
videoing
out of
this
her
thing.
mind.
Yeah,
Correct.
videoing this thing. Like if
Correct.
it's a movie, it's a picture. I
So
just
it's
want to make the most content for my Facebook, my TikTok, and nobody stepped in to help this individual. No one. So if society is allowing these things to happen, we can't even trust ourselves. We can't trust the
you
people we
see,
go out with.
again, for me, it's not a matter of society. It's what society has imbibed. All right. What they have fed their minds on. All right. If we're feeding our minds on filth, then you cannot expect the reaction of the society to be one of flowers. All right. This is
And the
what
fact
we
that
have nurtured. We have nurtured filth. So this is the reaping of the filth. Because if you
and the
listen
fact
to
that
a lot
they
of the
were like,
music,
to get out, I was
go
about to
ahead.
say the fact that the DJ was encouraging it. It's like he was
Exactly.
encouraging it. He was there hosting and coasting this entire thing. And the sickening part is that there were other women who was there. Nobody thought about, pulling her
I didn't
away,
even
pushing me
recognize
off.
that could have been them.
Yeah,
That could
that
have
could
been
have been
them.
that could have been you, that could have been your child, that could have been anybody within your
Exactly.
family. And you were standing
Yeah.
there and you were watching this and you were encouraging it. I don't even it's like bro, were they thinking where were your mind? Was everybody in the club drunk?
It's
Because
a matter. Really, is a matter of moral decay, because that level of depravity, where, for example, do you know that if you in the US at one point in time they used to have what is called the date drug, where they would drop something in the woman's drink so that she could be, all woozy. They used to call it slip her a Mickey. All right. I don't know if you listen to artists like Erica Badu, and she sang that in a song. He slipped me a Mickey. In other words, they drop something in your drink. But no, in Guyana, there is Molly, there is ecstasy, there are all these other drugs, including methamphetamine, that is now penetrating into Guyana, because we have these porous borders and people are coming over. Now people can just slip that, and you could have seen in the reaction of that lady. Because trust me, when I saw the video, I was so upset, I couldn't even fathom my behavior personally of what I would have done to an individual if that was my child. I
I
was
think
practically
I think
Question.
after I
I
saw
would
that
probably
video, I envisioned myself
want
being in
wear their
prison.
skin or something. You
I
understand?
didn't saw
Straight up,
this
I would probably
video.
want to wear their skin
Where's
because
this
that
video?
is like the most depraved thing ever. And you could see this young lady at one point, she's trying to fight them off, and then she putting them on, and then fight them off. She was not in her right mind. And nobody in the club with the video, they had people going live all with that. Nobody saw the need to say, put an end to that.
Everybody belongs in the lockup. At that point, it was no excuse that the
No
lockup didn't
excuse.
full with people.
Everybody in that club supposed to go to the lockups.
I
Everybody
don't
was
even
there.
think the lockup is the place for them, bro.
No,
Where
the
you put them, you
lockup
got to show with the key.
confiscate
You
their
gotta make sure you
phones.
show with the key, and there's no way for them to escape.
No, hold on. Accessory to the crime is a different thing than actually perpetrating the crime. All right?
Correct.
That's legal. Now, the persons who held up their phone and was going live and recorded that, they're all accessories to the crime. All of them should be locked up. Every single person that was involved in that club should have been in jail. Then there are the actual perpetrators of the rape that actually penetrated that young lady and violated her.
And then we always
They
say
all
that
should be in jail.
we had altered mental status because we were under the influence of alcohol. And then
Really?
that could be a throughout case, easily win. Anyhow, I'm not picking it. I didn't saw the video. I heard about it.
So let's pick on that then.
Let's
Change
use
the
that.
way alcohol is being served. Change the age of
Aren't they supposed to have ID cards going into these clubs?
no, but even if you're 18, 21, everybody, as he said, everybody could say that they are drunk. Everybody drink, everybody high, right? So now this is where
That's
you
the
change the policies to allow certain things or don't allow certain things. Just like you have with the
Correct.
firearm situation. Just like you
Ban
have with
alcohol
different
in the
other
whole.
situations. No, you can't ban alcohol.
No, you
That would
can't
be
ban
differently,
alcohol,
right?
but you can limit because in certain bars in the US, once they see you are inebriated, they will tell you that's your last.
Correct.
And some people will argue, I'm good, whatever. But the bartender will tell you, sir, we're sorry. We cannot sell you or serve you anymore. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to leave.
And keep in mind, we also have a culture right now in Guyana where people bar hops. So a group of people will leave from one bar and go to another bar and go. So by the time the end of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, the entire group of people drunk. I would hope that they do have a designated driver, right? Somebody who's not drinking.
Reintroduce the breathalyzer test because the police were outside of that club and were supposed to test when you have that kind of thing going on and people exiting that club and police are outside, they're not thinking that all these guys jumping in that car from in that club, everybody can be sober. Really? Come on.
Man,
Come
listen,
on.
nobody could tell me that everybody that was in that club that night was under the influence of alcohol, that they didn't know their left foot from their right foot.
No, but
Nobody could tell me that
Yeah.
everybody that in that club was wasted. Because how did they meet in home?
well, this is why you have to change things. And just to give Jackie
Hold on.
if that would be the
Yeah.
argument to throw out a case, then this is where the public or the politicians need to now change that. Because now we see a problem. This is a loophole. We tighten that loophole. That is how the system is
Exactly.
supposed to be functioning.
This is how a system really works for the people. You got to look at something that happens. Once it happens one time, you bring a team of experts together in a think tank and you say, legal minds, how do we frame law to prevent this from happening? How do we, with the police force, formulate a policy that aids them in making sure, for example, if this happens, what do we do? What is the standard operation procedure if this happens? These are the things that we need to implement in Guyana. We need to start fast tracking a lot of this stuff because for this year alone, how many visitors we had for almost half of the year? 1 million people came into Guyana. In 2026, we're going to have about 3 million people coming to Guyana. We
So
cannot
what,
have archaic 1954 laws, obviously.
so what I think now, it'll be hard to implement certain SOPs. So it will slow down revenue for a lot of person and stuff. But what they can do and what is the cause of a lot of these incidents happening countrywide is lack of education. So in other words, educate the people about the situation. And I doubt whether if she was educated about these things. Going to school coming up, people talk is years talking about Spanish fly and of recently have Molly amphetamine and 3,4
Yeah,
methamphetamine
methamphetamine, all kinds of stuff.
that's been introduced into the market. So
Yeah.
sensitization encourage young women not to go to bars alone, not to go places they don't know. And with these
Yeah.
education will decrease the chance of these things happening. And young women of the whole need to be more cognizant of the surrounding and hold themselves responsibility accountable for
Well,
certain things because in towns I see how some young people be carrying themselves, young ladies to be exact, and there's no way nobody gonna respect them acting in that manner. And this is thing that education will help increase their knowledge in certain things and decrease the chances of being involved in these
but,
situations.
but you said a very important thing there, Adolphus, the education, right? And I do believe it is the job of the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education to educate the young people because this needs to start not only in schools, but it needs to be implemented in public spaces where people know. For example, if you go on a train or a bus or any public transportation in New York, there is always, even when you get to a train station, there is always an ad telling you about these different type of drugs that are around you. All right, and you need to be careful. If you go to a bar and you look even inebriated or you look a little off, the bouncers or the people at the entry will ask you, "Is everything okay? Can I have a look at your ID?" Which is very important. These are
Yeah.
strategies that I think we need to implement in Guyana because one, we know for a fact that we Guyana 17-year-old and 18-year-old could sneak in a bar because they can look big, they got beard like big men, and they can walk past the doorway, they could pay and go in, and they look like big men, but they're children. You know this. So what
Yes,
we need to implement since these
this will,
problems are occurring, ID.
this
Go
will be
ahead.
a job for Kano, the custom and anti-narcotics, because I see on their website they be posting and they will have the statistics on the drugs that is being shipping in the country and what they're fighting against. However, they post
Yeah.
on the website that this is what occurring in the school. Children be aware of it. It's not candy and what's not. Other than putting a poster, I would use the social media, TikTok videos. Um,
The influencers. I
yes,
did see the post
target
you mentioned.
different or all five of the learning abilities, people, visual, audio, target everything,
Yeah.
use it on Monroe and die, put these things that you know people could be more sensitized about it other than just making a poster and people can just brush grass
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
it
It
does
needs to be
happen with most
reinforced.
people.
Basically, is a
They have this,
reinforcement of that needs to happen.
yeah, this strolling addiction. They stroll in and they see a post, so then we want to read it, they stroll from that and go to a video, and this is what they should do to help
Correct.
sensitize these people.
So I think back in the days they used to have these school books with that light blue paperback cover. And on the back of it used to say no to drugs or say no to smoking, something of that nature. And that was simple things that we used to do. But I know, well, I'm in America, and America at some point had a major crisis, right? in the late 90s, early 2000s with drugs. And they spend so much time creating, I think I want to say millions of ads and
Yeah,
infomercials and these things. And this is why you
PSI.
could go to the store now and buy a pack of cigarette, and the cigarette packet telling you don't smoke.
No, well,
Right?
before we go too far, I just wanted to mention this. The whole drive in, for example, in certain states right now, because of the fentanyl addiction in the US. And if you travel in New York, if you travel in New Jersey, any of the trains, even MTA, Amtrak, anybody, it always tells you, if you see something, say something. Look out for fentanyl in things. Look out, young ladies, if you're in a bar, don't move away from your drink, because somebody can drop some fentanyl in there, and that will make you not only go do things that you didn't know that you want to do, but you're going to lose your mind because you get addicted to that.
I live in Florida, and I've seen and heard stories of people crawling up walls, like legit. I have seen a school child crawled up the school building, like, you know, them zombie, like them monster, literally took something and went up the wall. At all wall.
Bro, we have seen right on, for example, areas like, I don't know if people know New York very well, but for those people in New York, they know Euclid Avenue. I'm standing at a gas station next to the train station, the entry to the train station. A guy pulls up with a girl in a Mustang. And trust me, I don't know if he's on fentanyl and sherm, which is another kind of drug thing that they do, but this guy is literally leaning. He's sleeping while he's putting gas in his car and sleeping as he's doing that. His girl comes out to the car. She stoops down next to him and she's sleeping. And they are driving a car. And as a muscle car at that, I'm like, the police ain't finding y'all yet.
Clearly
These
not.
are the issues we do not want to come to Guyana. I'm telling you. And
Indeed.
this kind of lunacy that has now taken place, where they can believe that they can throw this stuff into women's drink and then take advantage of them. I do believe the Guyana police force should make a real example of anybody that doing that and punish them to the max.
Correct. And this job, or security, I should say, is everybody business. And drug security should
Yes.
is everybody. So person that seeing these acts being committed should report it. Person that know this person who shipping in these narcotics should report it. And a harsher punishment should be given, especially if you giving drugs to minor or any causing any harm of the sort to minor.
It's a serious thing in Guyana. We got to look at it. I have actually seen ecstasy look like little teddy bear candies. All right. This is one of the things that, you know, the drug dealers have decided, okay, well, we need to switch it up. Let's make it look like a sweetie so it can pass.
You can make it friendly.
Make it friendly.
So I know for sure the current government and the president, to name directly, the president, prime ministers, and them, they would have mentioned some of these same things, but more so going into technology, embracing technology, right? So, of course, we do have legal minds. We have government officials that do listen to our programs from time to time. So I want to encourage you, whether it be me, Malachi, or anybody.
Yeah.
Even if you gotta go and hire, while I don't believe that the government should be hiring foreigners, we do have a lot of brilliant Guyanese.
Of course.
Try to use your own, right? You know, we stay ready, we little bias. But bring in a couple people and sit them down. Do sensitization classes.
Yeah.
Do different things. Do the think tank that we always talking about. And pick people brain. We like to eat. Give me free food. Put me in a classroom. I know the guy in the police force have a big training academy now. put we in a classroom, provide lunch and thing for we, and encourage people, have this same discussion, see what people saying. Out for that alone, you are able to know, well, all right, how are we going to charge a man? What type of charge we're going to bring up on them in these cases? Because a lot of these things is new to Guyana. And
Very
unfortunately, we are going to have to go through the process, right? If we didn't have social media, we wouldn't have to worry so much. If we didn't have millions of individuals, brand new individuals come into our country, we wouldn't have
no
to
problem. Exactly.
But unfortunately, these things is happening, so we need to make changes in real time. And with the government embracing social media, they should have these call to actions button. So if you're out, like these apps, let's say you have an app on your phone, the police app or whatever, and you're out, you should be able to simply press a button and alert the police, whether it be location given and these are the things.
One of the things, Martin, right on that topic that you're talking about, I do believe that Guyana, we are at the stage where we need to implement the Amber Alert. All right? At the rate we see young girls going missing in this country, we need to have an Amber Alert. Instead of GT&T sending me nonsense about a show or getting a discount off of MMG, maybe their focus should be on that Amber Alert, where once somebody is missing, it goes to everybody's phone. There's a notification that goes to everybody in Guyana once you're on the network, whether Digicel or GTT or One Communications or ENET, any one of the platforms, a notification comes to your phone to say this person is missing. I haven't seen that, but I see the advertising show. They're asking me to participate in an MMG and I could win 100,000.
Yes,
we got missing people, but it's only Facebook.
I think that it is in process since that case with that young girl, Adriana Young, I heard Minister Pierre Manichan did mention that. The Home Affairs Minister also did mention. That's when they raised that you don't need 72 hours to report a missing person anymore. So it is in process. I do believe that they'll developing a system for it in the background, and it will be set out soon.
You see,
this is
great
problem. I'm glad to hear that, brother. I'm glad.
While you glad to hear it, Malachi, I don't want to hear it. We've had too much cases to have this in process now. And me understanding technology to a point, it don't take so long. A website is built in an hour. It should not take the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Home Affairs, or whichever department to develop a website or develop an app. We have with a guy named from India, the Prime Minister Modi. The Indians is who's building them apps. Don't let me act like we ain't got sense. Them man building the app. We got the people in Africa building the apps. So the fact that it's still in process, it don't really make sense to me, brother. And this, when it comes to politics, these are the things that trigger me.
Yeah,
they need to fast track that process like yesterday.
I'm not knowledgeable if it was already sent
no,
out.
It's not out there, brother.
No.
Me get it on my phone yet. I got Sherwin.
Let me tell you what an Amber Alert does, right? An Amber Alert, if we sit in together as a group and an Amber Alert comes out, is everybody's phone goes to the Amber Alert and starts going off differently. All right? Everybody's phone. So I can literally stay in my house and hear all my neighbors' phone going off around me with one thing in there. It says somebody is missing. And an Amber Alert turns your phone into like a noise thing.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I witnessed it in the
right.
It
alerts you that something is wrong. If it's either giving you a message that, hey, we got some serious weather pattern coming our way, you need to get out of the way, or it tells you, alerts you that a child is missing and this child needs to be found ASAP. So
years ago,
although I agree, I know that as you said, the government is trying to do this, but they need to fast track this, bro. It's too much. It's really too long, and we know technology.
we did spoke about this years ago, and also we were speaking on getting us sex offender registry, which should be real
Yes,
important.
for all pedophiles. For all pedophiles, they should not be walking free. All right. And if they move from over the river to come to Georgetown, or if they move from Georgetown to go to Iflot, the people in Iflot must know you are a pedophile. There is no freedom after you are a pedophile or you violate children.
There's also somewhat of a community to have these people in. So they may just living all over. There's designated
No,
places that they can and
that they
cannot
can
go.
go.
Because
Exactly.
in Guyana, we
If
have
we see you
schools all
off,
over the place. So imagine putting a
exactly. If you
pedophile next to a school.
500 feet close to a school, it's jail immediately. There's no court system for that. And that's in the US. If a
And that's
pedophile
why,
is on the road,
and
go ahead. Ellie.
being in a woman on a podcast with a set of man, we ain't getting a chance to speak is not nice, you know.
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, we're not misogynists. Don't say that.
I feel like you know, inferior. You cannot make me feel inferior. Remember, I'm the phoenix, okay? Now that is why there was a situation the other day with that little girl that went missing, and she was right in the neighborhood in the guy's house.
Yes, I did saw
That
that.
big Yes, that story is another story that got me fired up because it's like she was missing for so many days. He went and helped the mother at the station because he was cleaning the station. He helped the mother, got her water when she was blacking out. He was there, knowing that you got me child in your house.
Wow.
You were there, assisting me, asking me if I'm okay, you know, being all this. You got my child in your house, and the things that you put my child through, you know. And he lived right in the community, and she was right there, and they were looking for her for how many days?
Well, this is where sensitization comes in because I've seen the exact thing in a Law and Order episode already. So already the police should know is the people right next to you is who's be the perpetrator. Everybody is a
Well,
suspect until they are not.
you see, this is the thing with Guyana, right? Like, I pointed this out when the Adriana Young case came up. We said the same thing on radio. We said, why do Guyanese have this notion that it is somebody outside of the circle that creates the chaos or does the evil? It couldn't be people out of the circle because one, they wouldn't know your pattern of movement, they wouldn't know where you are, they wouldn't know all the circumstances in which to inject themselves to whether kidnap or to do something to somebody. So most of the time, if an investigation is gonna be conducted on a case, like for example, the Adriana Young case, where 20 family members went to a pool, sorry to say, to bust the
Start
bubble
with
of
them
some people who
19.
believe exactly there's 19 because one died, which is Adriana Young, 19. Unfortunately, the 19 would have been the first to be arrested,
Mhm.
interrogated before they started to work from them going out. It doesn't work. For example, if a murder of let's say that young lady in Linden, obviously they're gonna look at the person who had a relationship with her. He is the first suspect, even if he didn't do it. Let's say that 21-year-old did not shoot her. He would be the first suspect on the list. This is how investigations work. And anybody who's into criminal investigations will tell you we're going to look at the first people who are closest to the deceased.
Yeah,
This
so
is how it
in the
works.
process of law, the family, 19 other family members, a statement would have been taken from them, but you cannot arrest somebody until you have grounds for to arrest them because when you arrested me
Sir,
now, what are you charging me for? In other
sir,
words,
sir, let me put it this way, right? For
yeah,
example, you dating a woman, you go me, you find she dead, right? You call the police, but you say you find she dead, right? Nobody improved that you find she dead, but you find she dead. You call the police and tell them that, hey, I come home and find this woman dead.
You know what they would do you if you were in the States? They would take you
You
in
were
for
in the
questioning.
lockup.
No,
You
Even
were
though
in
take
the
me
you
in
lockup.
for
said
questioning
you
until I
find she
get
dead,
labeled
they're
as a
locking you up.
person
No,
of
listen,
interest.
listen, they're locking you up. Them and if
No,
they
you
find
will
no
be in the
evidence
lockup.
that nobody else do it, you are going down for
What
it.
are you charging me for? You need to find
I would
evidence as
charge you
a
for
person of
murder.
interest.
No,
No, no,
Detained
no, no, no.
for the
It doesn't happen that
investigation.
fast. One, there would have to be an investigation. They would have to tie certain things, for example, DNA evidence, which is admissible, a very major part in court cases now is DNA evidence. All right. Now, if they carried out a forensic investigation and they found your DNA under the, let's for example, under the nails of the very person that you report that you come and meet them dead. Now there are variables in this. You make a report, you call the police in panic because people do this with their evilness. They will call the police, oh my God, I just got my wife, I just came home, she's dead. But then we have seen numerous times that the police are so methodical with the investigation, they did forensic and they found DNA traces of the same person who called and said they found their wife dead or they found their significant other dead. When they checked under their nails, under the nails of the victim, and on the skin of the person who made the call, they realized, oh, okay, there's your DNA under the nails of the person who is deceased. So obviously there was a struggle because some people are good at cleaning up the crime scene. All right. They watch Law and Order, they watch CSI, and they believe they're geniuses. All of a sudden, they
how
believe they
to
can
get away
get
with
away with
murder.
these crimes. Exactly. How to get away with murder. But one of the things our police force needs to also do, and this is something that the US and other even Caribbean investigators do, check people's social media, see what sites you go and check. People just go on sites checking how to dispose a body, how I can get away with murder, all these things. Once you see people going on those sites to see how they can evade law enforcement, this is
Um,
why we not only have to have investigators doing the criminal work, but we need investigators, cyber investigators as well.
Malachi, in that case, innocent people like me might get locked up for not doing anything because I just look at weird stuff on the internet. I just look for
Well,
poisonous mushrooms and them things on the internet.
Guilty until
till
proven innocent.
proven guilty.
And
Yeah,
this
you
is
Until
keep
why
looking
proven
at it,
there's a
right?
innocent.
But then
process.
in the
Yeah. I mean,
investigation, you need
listen,
to look at
you
the
can look at
motive.
those stuff. You can look at those stuff, but nobody died around you. You're not a suspect in a crime. All right. But if you're a suspect in a crime, they have to look at your social, they have to look at what you've been browsing, what you've been browsing through on the internet. And once they see somebody has died, for example, if they do a toxicology test on a body and they realize, okay, this person died of poisoning. And then they go on, you are close to that person, and they go and they check your social media and they check your browsers and they see you looked at how to poison people using a poisonous mushroom. You think they should overlook that and say, oh, well, she was just looking at how mushrooms poison people?
But what if I'm
No.
innocent? What if I'm okay? I'm innocent, but
Well,
then
you
I'm
will be
innocent. But
innocent when proven
you're
so.
all in my search history against me. I'm
Of
innocent.
course,
I did not commit this murder, but you're gonna be
Given that
using my
it
search
something
has a
history
lot to
against
do
me.
with it.
given that something happened around you, it
Happen
mightn't be
around
somebody
you.
directly, but as long as it's within your circle, then you are the first person. If I was a police, use the first person going down.
Thank
Let's
God I
go.
just delete my search history, buddy.
That don't help, ma'am.
That
Cybersecurity
don't help.
doesn't work that way.
Doesn't
We're
work
able
that
to
way.
find things from the day you open your computer or your phone.
And this is what I tell Guyanese a lot of the times, because a lot of them believe when they go on the internet and they say certain things. Like for example, I heard a gentleman say, "Oh, this is how we gonna make the poison for the Kuli people." Oh, I'm sorry, the PPP people. And he later deleted it. I was like, but you don't seem to realize the internet, if you delete something, that doesn't mean it goes anywhere. It can always be recovered and checked. There's always a digital footprint once you're using the internet. You have to do it from an IP. Whether it's from a laptop, whether it's from a phone, your IP will be on the internet. So there's no escape. So I think because we are not looking at the technology, especially if people in Guyana, they're not looking at it from that aspect that, hey, you can be tracked for the things you do. For example, with this guy who went online and he said, let's cut off the head of the president and Barrel Jagdeo and their children. And he had a mask on when he was saying it. Apparently, there was tear gas in the area. He pulled the mask down, washed his face, and then came back to talk about the same thing. But then when the police arrived at his place to arrest him, he said, I'm innocent, as a working man, as a guard, and all kinds of stuff.
Nonsense.
Not realizing
Nonsense.
that you have a digital footprint that says, this is what you said, and then using those kind of threats online, you're going to get arrested for them. Because I said to somebody who called me, they said, why are they arresting the guy? I was like, maybe you should try this. Try going to New York.
First.
Exactly. Go on a live in New York and say that you wish to honor live the president and his wife and his children. And even before you complete that live,
they're there
your
for
house or wherever you are will be surrounded by police and choppers, because that's how fast in the US they have the ability to operate. In Guyana, it might be a little slower, but they will have your IP address.
So let's even look at that aspect of things, right? Whereby this young lady family, specifically the 26-year-old teacher, who her family mentioned that the police would take long for come when they make reports and these sort of things. Now, in 2025, with so much money that we could give everybody 100,000, I think instead of asking for money, right? Some people want $1 million grant every month or every year or whatever. Instead of asking for that, why not ask for a bit of stability, whereby we could buy 100,000 vehicles? That way, every police officer is able to reach you at a faster pace. Or we could build more outposts, which I did see a lot of police outposts popping up, which I think it's a good thing.
But not to cut you, Martin, I see also a lot of the business community has invested in vehicles for the police. If you don't know, they got hundreds of pickups and stuff like that. But again, we don't want pickup, because we saw that incident with that guy jumping out the back of the police vehicle and fighting with the police. We need to have actual vehicles that when you put somebody in the paddy wagon, they are in there. There's no jumping out and all of that kind of stuff. Let's get real. We got to stop with this whole this thing that it's not working. We need to tighten the system. All right? Go ahead, Martin.
No, I agree with you, right? Whereby there's several different things that is exposed. And one major thing is the laws that we have. We're functioning in a modern society in the fastest growing time ever. And we're struggling to keep up. I don't know if the government is seeing that. We are struggling as individuals, as a country, collectively, we're struggling to keep up. Whether it be with the rest of the world or with ourselves. And that shouldn't be the case. We have several different things that we could look at, find different solutions, and make life easy for everybody. So I would want to encourage any party who's going to win this upcoming election. Make sure y'all focus on the people. As much as y'all say y'all are going to be people-centered, make sure your people... Make sure the people in the center.
But here was the laugh. You're hearing we people-centered, but are we seeing policies? Are we hearing those policies? Are we seeing manifestos that are showing that, okay, we're going to go in that direction? This
At
is what
this
we say.
point, we live in a very transparent society. If you can't post your entire manifesto and your plan online, you
Don't give it
don't
up.
belong in power.
Exactly.
Because who will
Don't
Um,
give
give you
it up.
little brain idea that you
um,
think you alone come up with? Go ahead, Nelly.
sir, listen, listen. Why are you telling these people to share their ideas on the internet?
Who gonna thief it? Think about it. The
For
president
example,
could come out and,
PPP
and,
might
and do
think
what?
PPP might think that Win might thief the inspiration. Win might think that PPP can thief the inspiration.
So do we concern about the party or do we concern about the people who's supposed to be in the center? Because every idea is today ain't nothing new. Guyana,
It's nothing new.
no member of parliament, no president, no government could come up with any new idea. We far behind it. America far behind from China. You know how advanced China is today? You think China suffering? Russia advanced.
I,
What the
I
hell
gotta
Guyana policies Guyana could come out with that is going to be new to
That
anybody?
that is gonna
I
be
just
new
you
under
see
the
this
sun.
topic that you see this topic that the two y'all are trying to jump in is a very fire up topic.
That's why we can hold it for next time.
Yes, yes. Oh, I glad you picked me up. I glad you catch me where I'm coming from. That's a very, very fired up topic. Y'all can get me all fired up on this. Y'all need to not do that right now.
No, but altogether, we need a drastic change with everything. And of course, we're about to wind down things. I do want to appreciate you guys' contribution tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, all different points from all sides. Of course, Nell, you mentioned you're the only female on tonight. That wasn't by choice, right? But we do appreciate your contribution.
I know. Before we go, there's something I want to say.
Mhm.
Even though we're talking about stuff, putting
Shoot.
stuff in place to bring awareness to all the stuff that's going on, domestic violence and the putting stuff in drinks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We as we're waiting on the government or we're waiting on the justice system to do something about it, we have people out here who calls themselves influencers. We have people out here who kind of got these TikTokers that are very much respected by a lot of young people. I
I
think you
wouldn't use
guys
the
should
word
use your
respected. I think
platform.
they have a lot of followers. They have a lot of followers, not respect,
Yeah.
because
Well, they have a
stuff
lot of
they say.
followers. They have a lot of people that look at them. They have a lot of people
Yeah,
that look at them. Use your
yeah.
platform. I'm not saying you can use your platform to do this every day, but even in the time, use your platform to raise the awareness of domestic violence, of women being careful with their drink, of all these things. Use your platform to influence someone that you don't know
But
the amount
Susie,
of things that you could do with just having
domestic violence don't go
numerous.
one way, right? Don't forget, it
I know
doesn't go
it's
one way.
both. I know
Both ways.
it goes both ways. That's why
Thank
I
you.
just said domestic violence in a whole. Use your
Right?
platform to raise awareness against these things because we can't sit back as people and only wait for the government to take action. You have a platform that you can use to
Society
take
has
action.
responsibility as well.
Good. So, as you have a platform to use, you use that platform to start giving some advice. It doesn't have to be think just make sure that your advice is good advice because like Mola saying the man got pushed the cart in the supermarket. But yes, give very good advice. Use your platform that you could help young people to avoid certain things.
I agree with you, and it's only domestic if it happened at home. So I think you should say violence against women.
Yeah,
Violence against women and men.
in
Because
total.
I always tell myself this. Men go through abuse too. There are young guys that are sexually abused. There are guys that are physically abused. Men go through abuse, but men
Yeah,
just don't speak out about the abuse. And if there's a
because when we
system,
do, it's going to be a comedy show.
and if there's a system that was ever put in place that a man would feel like, hey, I could come and talk about me being abused and I won't feel bad, my self-esteem wouldn't be beaten down on,
My
you're going to
ego.
see the amount of young men that steps out and talk about what they are going through. But men cannot stand it because
society has it that, oh, men are supposed to be the leaders and they're supposed to be this, and so they're afraid to speak out about some of these things. But there are men that are going through these things, not just women.
So this happening for
Yeah,
years. The man supposed to be macho, and this is the reason why we have a high percentage of mental illness within the male population. So it's great
correct.
reason. I know a few years ago Ghana had started a program, Let's Talk, and it's basically it's
Hmm.
focused on men mental health. But I haven't seen where that has gone. I haven't heard anything about it for a while. But that was a real great step they take, and I think they should continue following up on it.
Yeah, yeah. I do believe that overall, um, as a nation going forward, we need to not only put regimes in place to protect both sexes, but we also need to foster um, what we were talking about in the beginning when we opened this program, the integrity and the moral standing. All right. Those two pillars need to be reinstituted into our development process, into our mindset process. Because really, integrity is when you do the right thing without somebody being over your shoulder looking at you to say, you should have done the right thing. Integrity tells you that, hey, I need to do the right thing even if somebody is not looking. All right. And
Correct.
morals is instilled as you grow because morals help you to think that, okay, it's not right to kill your mom. All right. Because if you didn't have that base moral, the world would be totally chaotic. So we need to return to a lot of that base morality. And
I
Guyana, in
agree.
my estimation, based on all this stuff that's happening, the tragic killing of women, the rape of women, we are in a serious state of moral decay.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to look at it. We need to have a more proactive uh, a proactive development to move towards eradicating this kind of thing from our society. We need to stamp it out immediately. And it's not about punishing individuals, but it's more of sensitizing individuals who are not educated.
Correct. Correct.
This is the problem.
Correct.
Because obviously, if somebody is educated telling them about morality and integrity, the
No
first
makes
thing
sense.
when you say, they're gonna be like, "What you talking about? I never got taught that in my life."
I think this is why the script concept or the dance concept is so popular.
Exactly.
You know. So
Because in our
I
day, we know the word dunce mean not a good thing. But suddenly in 2025 and 2024, dunce is something.
hmm,
I
I
don't know.
I I
It's
know
more of
in
ignorance than dunce to me, honestly.
correct.
I don't literally look at it and call it ignorance
So
because
that is
it,
where the education comes in,
yeah,
to guide that.
yeah,
What
honestly.
what I would like to do is encourage my friend in media, the Guyanese critic. To I remember he had a podcast, the
Yeah,
Man
the
Cave,
man cave.
and when I
Yeah,
saw a couple episode, I liked it, right?
yeah,
Whereby me as a man thought that yes, we need this in Guyana, even though he does his thing as in his way, right?
yeah.
We can't knock down. But I do think having that podcast, simple conversation that they had on that podcast, is
Yeah.
necessary. If not one
Mm-hmm.
man, a bunch of them, right? So I would like to charge the Guyanese critic to start back that podcast specifically,
Bring that
right?
podcast back for real because
I
men can
would
express
also
themselves here.
correct. I would also like to take
Yeah.
the initiative to implement something. I know what yet, but me as a man need guidance, right? So as we know, it takes the village, right? Every citizen is responsible. I would
Is
like to at
responsible.
some point implement something for young men, I know back in the days we had a program in school that saved my life in a sense and draw me to a different direction, right? I'm not
Mhm.
sure if it's still in school. I know they had the President Youth Award program. I was under the President Youth Award program. That is how I met Barrett Jacquio when he was president. He was one of the individuals who gifted me certificate as I graduated said programs. It was incorporated with the UNDP, I believe, and the USAID. Well, of course, we know
Yeah,
Trump knocked out the
yeah,
USAID. So
yeah.
don't
Through
look
the
for the
USA.
funding, but there's different ways we could get things done. So I
Yeah,
would be working towards implementing something for young men specifically. I could only help men. I know woman thing, but not enough. But for the men, I would encourage you to reach out. You got we contact information, you got we social media, reach out to me, reach out to Malachi, you know, and let's do something for ourselves. Of course, we have the Men on a Mission initiative, which is
hmm
guided by the president, the prime minister, and them, right? Different
yeah,
individuals.
yeah.
Everybody needs to be playing a part for
This is
young men's sake.
this is a situation where we need all hands on deck. We got
Yes.
to wrap it up for tonight, but just before we wrap it up, let's get final words from Adolf. Tell us, your final words, my brother, for tonight.
Yeah, just want to encourage everybody that security is everybody's business. Security doesn't mean watching a house or something. Is 100% alertness and being educated about what's going on in society. And if you see something that is not right, you should report it and look out for your fellow brothers and sisters for us to make a better society moving forward.
Like I
That's
say,
it.
you see
Indeed.
something,
Say
say
something.
something.
Yes, sir.
Nelly, your final words for this evening. Are you there?
I am here. I'm here.
Yeah,
Sorry.
your final words for this evening.
I think I said enough already for the evening. Honestly. My advice is to be a brother's keeper. That's my advice. Look out for everybody around you, no matter if that person is your friend or anything. We should always be one another keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I so love that. Trust me, because that is the fabric that we have that is lost is because we have decided that we can only be our own keeper. We ain't worrying with what we see. So if we see something next door and it going wrong, we can say, "No, well, they ain't got nothing to do with me. I can shut my mouth."
Hmm.
And that is the culture that has been cultivated. Now we need to get rid of that. For me,
Drinking water,
my
minding
final
your own business is not working.
yeah, drink water and mind your business. That's the culture now, and that is where the major issues are. My final thoughts for tonight is, I do believe moving forward that we, like all the parties have mentioned, some of them have mentioned the people-centered approach. We're hoping to see a lot more of that people-centered approach, not only in violence against women, but we're in our sector as well. Because I can't close
Mm-hmm.
off the show without mentioning the fact we need the updates on the copyright laws and also, most importantly, the enforcement, because we don't want to be a pit bull without teeth. All right,
Yes.
we need the enforcement because having copyright is like having the pit bull, but if we don't have the enforcement, is a pit bull without teeth, and a pit bull don't bite on gums. All right, so those are some of the things that we got to look at, and we got to look at our two things in our pillars in our society: morals and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
That's my closing statement for this evening.
And of course, with that being said, I'll read the disclaimer again, and that goes: the views, opinions, and statements expressed on the conversation are solely those of the individual hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of our advertisers, Majestic Music Radio, Gem Radio, or Gem Network. The content of this show is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. Listeners' discretion is advised. Neither the station nor the network assumes any responsibility or liability for the accuracy, completeness, or validity of the information presented. All content is subject to change without prior notice.
And of course, make sure you check us out tomorrow on Majestic Music Radio in the Rush, where it's strictly GT to the
Mm-hmm.
world. And of course, please send us your comments, send us your your thoughts on these topics. Make sure you check us out next Tuesday. You can hit me up on +592-641-0945, or you can hit Martin up on
305-713-8595. Of course, you could follow us on our social media platforms. And
Mhm.
please don't let the conversation stop tonight.
Nope.
We still got more people, right? Guyana is a beautiful place. I'm always going to say that.
Yeah.
Let's keep it that way. All right?
Yeah. One people, one nation, one
One
destiny. Let's
destiny.
all work together, like Nelly said. Let's be our brothers keepers. All right. Love
Mhm.
you, world. Love you, Guyana. Until next Tuesday, we out of here.
Thank you, guys.